And as the spirit of prophecy says, we carry too light a burden in behalf of souls unsaved. There was never a time when the world needed us more than it needs us right now. Do you understand this right here? And if there was ever a time in the history of Seventh-day Adventists when they should arise and shine, it is when somebody? Now. No voice should be restrained from proclaiming the third angel's message. Let none, for fear of losing prestige with the world, obscure one ray of light coming from the source of all light. And what is that ray of light? That in the end of time, the second beast power of Revelation 13 will enforce the worship of the first beast. And brothers and sisters, one of the reasons why is through the calamities. Right now, we're going through some bad calamities right now in the world, and they're blaming everything on climate change. Ellen White says that they will point to calamities on land and sea, to the storms of wind, the floods, and the earthquakes, and the destruction by fire as God's judgments. That indicates God's displeasure because Sunday is not sacredly observed. And we know that this Sunday law will lead to the worship of the dragon, and that's exactly what the devil wants to do. But we have a message to proclaim to the world that we are not to worship this beast. Am I right? Because we know that hellfire awaits those that worship him.
In November of 2022, the Vatican participated in the Climate Change Summit of the United Nations in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
Before 2050.
Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin represented the Holy See at the event. The Vatican had already officially joined the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, vowing to cut its greenhouse gas emissions. In his address to world leaders, the Cardinal reminded the audience of Pope Francis's public commitment made last September. By 2050, the Vatican will produce zero greenhouse emissions. The movie The Letter is based on Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si, which addresses global warming. Cardinal Raniero Cantalamessa appears in this film. He's been the preacher of the pontifical household for more than 40 years. Every week, the Pope comes to hear his sermons during Advent and Lent. In a rare interview, he exclusively explains why care for creation is so important.
I mean, but doesn't that sound friendly?
Yes.
It sounds good, am I right? But look who's behind it. That's the reason why we do these updates, to let you know, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
I have been doing that for the last 42 years. I started with John Paul II.
Let me tell you this, if I didn't know what the Bible said about the Vatican, I would have thought it was the most spiritual church on the face of this earth. Am I right?
Yep.
Every Friday morning, the Pope will come and listen. When I heard that his name was now Francis, I was shocked. And I said to myself, something new is beginning for the Catholic Church. And I must say that after 8 or 9 years, my opinion has not changed, has increased. Francis is a name God chooses for him. The poor and creation are defenseless. This is why God entrusted creation to people made in his likeness, because they can work for good. I think this is why a religious dimension is essential for ecology.
Did you hear that? A religious dimension is essential for this talk about climate change. Now, it's been political, Jamal, but now they say let's get spiritual. So I believe that this is the bus where this world domination is going to come. Let's continue on.
We need to have a transcendent reason to care for creation. And this transcendent reason is that the creation doesn't belong to us. We have received it. We are not bosses, we are not owners of nature. Till recently, there were people who pretended that nothing was really happening. I think the recent meteorological events should have convinced everybody that we are in a bad shape. Rich people can move from one place to another when there is some problem, but the poor can't. Laudato Sì, Signore, frate sole. Francis is one of these people to whom St. Francis has entrusted this canticle. Laudato Si is addressed to the Catholic Church, but also to the other churches, to humankind, and gives.
You said Laudato Si is not just only for the Catholic Church, but it's also for other churches and for humankind. And you need to deal with this thing, because this thing is getting ready to spring up. It looks very good, am I right? Let's care for the climate. Let's care for the environment. But you know what they're going to say? Let's rest on Sunday to save the environment. How do I know? I'm going to show you in just a minute.